We're here with our original paint 38. Everybody's seen it, has been paying attention to the videos. One of the guys asked me to discuss the difference on 37, 8, and 9 frames specifically. Well, what I've discovered is that I'm constantly discovering new stuff. So I'm going to talk to you about what I know so far. That doesn't mean new things won't come to light later. What I haven't had is original paint 39s or original paint 37s. But I've had 37s, I've had 39s, restored bikes, that sort of stuff. So I'm going to tell you what I've been able to decipher. We're going to take a look at this 38. We're going to talk about a couple things. We'll just swing it around. Now, this is a very late 38. So that means this seat applies. It came out at least in the July 38 accessory catalog. They had different accessory catalogs already offering different stuff. I haven't been able to determine exactly when these things on this late 38 started. This is 2604. They made approximately 2,900, I think, bikes in 38, if I recall correctly. I should have looked that up first, but I didn't. But not very many, so it's 2604, but it's later in the year, and it has the later fork. It's still curved instead of the inside inserts here, but we still have the nice sloping, curving front end. See how it slopes? It's a very gentle curve. That's 38 only. So this seat is correct. Until I got the accessory literature, I did not realize that they made this seat for 38, but they do. They did. One of the other things I'm trying to find out is later in the year, like when this bike was made, did they put the patent decal on the toolbox, or did they put it on the oil tank? The toolbox I got it from, with on this machine, had the hinge. We had to recreate it here. It had a patent decal, but not from the era because it was a repaint. It had a old Joe Barber decal, and this is all repaired with brass. So my buddy Jay Hart repaired this beautifully. Just made it, oh my God, wow! Did an old fake paint job on it for me. But this toolbox here is original paint. I found it actually before the bike, and the dealer decal here tells me that was probably sold new on a machine. Well, when exactly was that? It has no hinge. So when was the last hinge? I couldn't tell you. It's been so many years since I had my 38s I restored. I can't remember if they had a hinge on them or not. It's been too many decades. So, and just because it's restored, we've always got to remember, a restoration is an artist's rendition of what might have been an original paint bike. We're going to learn a lot more about it. So we're still trying to figure that out, but there's no indication of any patent decal on the actual oil tank at all. Could have very easily been a late year change when we decided to do that. Certainly early 38 when they made all the, we're selling 38s now, all the catalog books, it had the decal on the oil tank at that time. But a lot of this stuff was crossover, changeover stuff. It was made at the tail end of this year and used up through the next year. They changed stuff mid-year, which is why this frame video we're making is so important. Because this frame here, now this is a 38, come on over here. As you'll see down here, there's my light. You can see the repair here. Now why would they do that when they've been repairing this since 37? Repairing it since 37, I thought all 37 frames were open there, you're saying. Well, no, that's not true. The late 37 frame has this repair just like this. Very late frame. It came repaired. It was something that the dealers were offered to do as a kit because they were breaking, snapping open, and killing people. Not a good idea. Not a good sales pitch. Hey, ride our bike and die. So by late 37, they had the repair. It was throughout all of 38 that I know of it had the repair. And I suspect, this is the late 38 now, I suspect into early 39 as they used these up, as they used these castings up, they still had the repair. By late 39, they definitely had a closed stay. I don't know for sure what check mark it had in the neck. But either way, even if it just had the stay here in the neck on the rear axle in the early 39 and then closed as a complete casting, late 39, that would make two frames. If for some reason we find out in 39 that 39 had the same frame all year round, That's the only year Harley Davidson in civilian production ever did that. Every other year they had at least 2 frames or more. So that doesn't sound right. That's not what Harley Davidson was doing. Knucklehead years were an experiment, and they didn't throw shit out. So, in the neck itself, standard knucklehead issue, most or all of them, not certain because I don't have all knucklehead frames, had the XE35 up there. But here we have the 3 with the big check right there. So, can you get that on the film there? Yep, there it is. See the 3 with the big check. Now that's late 38 for sure, and I do believe early 39. Now early 38, it has a smaller check and a 2, not a 3. Same frame, just the casting hallmark's different. Okay? Late 37, same thing. Has a 2 and a small check. If you look up on Flickr, the famous James Flickr, 1937, Knucklehead restored, that beautiful red one I had the 2 with a small check with the repaired stay. Now, I got beat up real extensively on the classic American Iron side. Oh, that never happened. It ain't in Palmer's. Whine, whine, whine. Bitch, bitch, bitch about that beautiful bike. Well, the bike had massive decades being in the same chassis together, although it was restored. But it was a complete bike at one time before it got restored, with history going back many decades. I just can't trace it to when it was in original paint, brand new, like I can this one. But still, you gotta remember, they weren't worth very much in the 60s and 50s. People didn't really swap stuff around. It was either a bike or they chopped it. A complete stock bike, that's the way it came. Almost always. Very, very seldom that's not what had happened. They just weren't worth very much, especially the pre-war 61s. Nobody wanted that crap. It just was undesirable, unsellable stuff. You had to be a collector, somebody to really appreciate the history. It's something that got saved. So anyhow, they went through this wine bitch, bash me, bash the bike thing. And then the new edition of Palmer's, there's the frame in 37. Wow, that's what they did. Because it wasn't in the first edition, it didn't happen. The point is this: when you write a book, you try to make it as cohesive and presentable as possible, even though you don't have all the answers. So when a new answer comes up, if it ain't in the book, how do you add it in the book? The only way you can add it in the book is to write another book. And what about the next answer? When we do these videos, if we find something else new, we can make another video. You just got to pay attention to the videos. So, this is what I found back in 2015. The very earliest and very last 36 frame, and I couldn't swear what the check mark is, on the neck, if this is a dead giveaway, as everybody knows, the 36 frame, or your 36 guys know this, it had no 5th training mount welded to the frame down here underneath the transmission. Unfortunately, I don't have the bare frame to show you. But it's an actual tab that's actually sweated to the frame that supports right where the kicker is. Well, a 36 has a little bent tab with a bolt for support. They didn't actually make a mount on the frame. Well, 36 also has these cool little sweated sidecar loops over here instead of this whole casting. Well, in the very last of the 36s, same basic frame as this, but no 5th training mount. It had the heavier castings, just like a 37 frame, but no 5th training mount. Except guess what? They also use that frame in early 37 too. No 5th training mount in 37. That's the 4th frame I just found out about. I know of 3. One's in the original paint. So, unfortunately, I don't have that bike here to show you. But the early frames, through most of 37, had a skinnier bar right here. Visibly smaller. Much visibly smaller. So, the first 37 frame, no 5th training mount. Second 37 frame has 5th training mount now, but still has skinny bar. Then they remake the neck. They remake the neck, and I don't know if they changed the check or not. I don't have the bikes here to confirm or deny. I don't know. But they changed the neck, and what they did, it had a bigger space here where the thicker bar, right here, it was machined out, but because they still had some of these bars they were using, some of them they used the thinner bar and they machined a little spacer and stuck the thinner bar in. So you've got like a wide opening with a spacer and a thin bar in it. And then when they came out with the 2-check neck frame with the repair, they put the bigger bar across here. Looks just like an early 38 frame. That I know for certain. Those four. There could have been another one. Don't know. But the late 37 frame and the early 38 frame, let's take a look at the check mark again. You've got the thick bar here, just like this. You've got a smaller check, it's a little bit smaller, with a 2 right there in the neck. The late 38 frame has the 3. The late 38 frame also came out with the zerts. So this curved, beautiful curved rear leg is 38 only. But you have the outer zerts here instead of in here. 30 early 38 and before the zerts are here. Now there are 2 other renditions of this rear leg that I know of. Since we're on that subject, people are going to ask. We'll just talk about it now. As far as I'm aware, all your 38s had this bigger brace here on the rear leg. Certainly when they came out with the curved leg, they came out with the big brace. I don't know of any 37s, never heard of any 37s with a curved rear leg. The earlier straight leg has a thinner, skinny brace here. The last 37s, and I've heard of some 36s, I guess they're experimenting, or maybe it was a repair, don't know which, actually had a little loopity-loop piece of metal here in back of that would hold that and repair it. Now, some people have been asking on other forums and sites about the little butterflies. So I don't know for certain when they stopped that. I'm thinking probably 38 or 39 was the last year. So we're going to check underneath this fender here and check for our little butterfly stays and see what we find. So this is a late one here. We have no butterfly stay there, and we have no butterfly stay here, right there. You follow? And this is the original paint machine. So we can definitely say we have no butterfly stays underneath by the time they changed the frame and the fork. Changed the butterfly stays. So that was a mid-year change again in 38. So your early 38 would certainly have butterfly stays. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that today we're stopping that, boys, and we're starting some of that. What it means is by the time this bike got made, we're done with the butterfly stays. The new style fork is here, and the new frame is here. That doesn't mean a couple bikes before that it had the new frame with the earlier fork and a butterfly stay, or any switch up like that. Because they used it, okay, we're switching, but use all those first, man, we ain't throwing them out, and then they switched. I remember, that's how they did it. And then they switched. And they didn't write down what they switched on what motor number. So we could have had this bike here with 10 other 38 knuckleheads in a row being built, and that bike there's got this frame, and that fork, and that fork, and that bike there's got that frame, and that fork, and that fork, and that fender. And it could have been all switched around in this match as they just grabbed the shit off the shelf. They didn't check when they did this paint job. Well, let me check for butterfly stays and see if we want to use that. They just grabbed the fender and painted it. So that answers the butterfly stays. That answers the forks. That answers the frames. I can't think of anything else we needed. We talked about probable early 38 or early 39 and late 39 frames. I don't have an early 39 here and a late 39 here to confirm, but I believe that's what happened. I certainly know for a fact the early 38 and the late 38 frames and the 437 frames. Okay, we discussed all that. So we discussed the butterflies, we discussed the fork. So now, for those of you wondering why I'm talking about butterflies, I happen to have a fender. Let's go take a look at this fender. We're going to walk over there. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This was a Long Beach swap meet find, and it found me. And this is an early WL fender, I believe. It's got a butterfly here in the front. See the butterfly? That's what they're talking about. You see that? See a little curve there? A little curve there? That's a butterfly. But it has that type of tab in the rear, and it does not line up with a knucklehead. So I'm pretty sure this is a early WL fender. They used the I-beam Springer through most, maybe all, of the 38 year on the WLs, early WLs. So it's a totally different shape because of the I-beam Springer to the entire fender. You got to remember, Harley's a factory. They took this stuff, make me some of that. They took the pattern out, cut it, bend it, boom, there it is. Paint it, slap it on a bike. It's a factory. They didn't call up CCI and say, send me some fenders. They are the factory. They made it right there. So put this back. So certainly in early 38, they had the butterflies on the fender. When it changed in the 38 year, I don't think anybody knows. All they know is what they have on their bike. And like I said, you could have had 10 or 20 or 50 38s all in a room going together. And out of that 50, maybe one of them uses this later fender, maybe that one over there has a butterfly fender, and this one over here has got the early motor numbers, because they didn't fucking care. They didn't write this shit down. They just grabbed it off the shelf and bap, bap, bap. It wasn't stop here in this motor number starting this process. That's not reality, guys. It's not reality. We know approximates. That's all we're ever going to know is approximates. So as long as you get it approximately within your sphere of what the bike was, you're good. You're good. That's how it worked. Okay? You are being correct. So, bike's on hold. We're waiting on things to happen. First and foremost, my eyeballs. I'm so blind I can't even properly work on a motorcycle right now. I don't trust them. I can't. These curved glasses, any type of curved glass, I'm screwed up. So hopefully I can get some flat glasses, hopefully it works. But until then, I'm hit. So just for a refresher, for those of you just watching, I did find this seat from Greg Noble. It did not come originally with the bike. The pictures I have of the bike, the seat I got with the bike was a different seat anyhow. The bike had been through a couple of hands, changed a little bit here, changed a little there, so I don't mind changing it and correcting it and putting the chrome package back on and bringing it back to its former glory. This is, I believe, came out in 26. Certainly that era. It was made through the VL era. It just would have been a part on a shelf. Bam. This is something that George Tunis put on. He put on the horse. As I found out later, he calls the bike Black Stallion. So unless I find out an earlier name, this bike is Black Stallion. Now again, the bike has been changed, so I put on the cool Buck Rogers airship myself. I didn't mind doing that. So it has a chrome package originally. Late 38 would have had the chrome strips for the chrome package. You've seen too much of that. So that was there. So what we've done is we've put on an original chrome rear crash bar, rear seat spring a buddy of mine gave me. I think that's our NOS rear stand chrome. I have a couple, I can't remember which one I put on. The wheels are new old stock. Rear brakes new old stock. I still have not taken apart the front wheel and cleaned up the brakes. I suspect the front brake is new old stock, but I can't swear. And my plan is to take and rebuild one of my original nickel carburetors and manifolds and stick that on the machine. Because it should have been nickeled. It's been painted now through years of cleaning the service and so forth, and it wouldn't have been that way new. And we want to bring it back as close as I can, maintaining the integrity of the machine and clean it up without destroying, shall we say, age, but cleaning up the age so it doesn't look rotten. There's age of kept and there's age of rotten. I want to get rid of anything that's rotten and bring it back and make it nice and beautiful and reliable and runnable. We've got to take it out and share it with everybody. So that is the plan. And another thing I found out, the Speedo This bike did not come with a speedo. Somebody changed it and put a 41 to 46 style speedo. Never seen that happen before. Like Greenie doesn't have the later speedo, right? Never seen that happen before. So Georgia put that speedo on, and I'm going to have to eventually get a meter to tell me when paint came out of the gun. The tanks are just incredible shape. I had thought they were new old stock. The late decal, which I'm going to show you again as a refresher, they only made it for 6 months. It's a late 38 decal. It's in the Harley Davidson literature from photos from the time. So there's just no discussing it. They did it. End of story. And the late decal is flat here. And these tanks are just, oh my God, wow inside. Just beautiful. And just beautiful here. So when I questioned George on it, he says, well, we just touched them up, which is not what he told me to begin with. He says, I don't know. And he says, well, we touched them up. The picture I saw of the bike had a early tank with this heart-shaped red to blend in with this stuff, with a heart-shaped red around a 40 decal. And Dennis D'Angelo was nice enough to post some pictures on Facebook and says, well, I worked on it from George, but it's been so long and so many bikes ago, I can't remember. But at any rate, whether these tanks came from the bike or whatever, he says, Dennis says, if I recall correctly, the tanks that I worked on it had some repair, so I don't have the answer yet. Those tanks are just amazing, oh my God. So what they are, we're going to find out. But at this point in time, I don't have the tool for it. But it still doesn't, in my opinion, detract from the rarity of the bike because it is this factory custom paint. It's still, the history is there. There's not too many bikes that you can trace back all the way to new. That's really, really rare. We can do that with this machine. So, can't think of anything else to add. If anybody else thinks of something that I can take a video and discuss that we haven't discussed or would like to see rediscussed on the YouTube, please let me know in the comments or send me an email, huntingharleys@gmail.com, and we'll do the best to make a video and discuss what we have learned. See you guys later.